Hey, what's up guys? Today my pump decided it doesn't want to turn on, so I decided to check it out. We're gonna see if this works, and I hope it really does, because right now the pump is not working, waterfall's not working, all that stuff. So let's try it out. First thing you should do is turn off the appropriate pool breakers. So I have 3, I've switched them all to the off position. Next, I'm going the extra mile by making sure that the pool, the cleaner, every switch is off. And then I turn the timer to a time that's outside of the pool's running hours. After that, I'm using a little mallet to try my first approach, which is removing the pump basket and just making sure that nothing's clogging the impeller. So I'm using my hand to reach in there and see if I could touch the impeller, which I was able to, and I was able to spin it. So unfortunately, that's not the issue, and even with cleaning out with this pipe, there was nothing to pull out. So next, just going to replace the pump basket, put the cover back in place, and then just hammer it back into position. We will have to try something else then. For some of you, this might actually work, and when you try this out, you might be able to start your pump once again. So I hope that this is the end of your issue. But if not, keep watching and we'll install the capacitor. The impeller's clear. I do see that there is this capacitor right here, so that might have something wrong with it. So my particular pump is a Pentair 196239 motor, and I'm using these tools to remove and replace a capacitor. Some pliers, a screwdriver, a longer screwdriver, and a multimeter. The capacitor will be down here, but first we want to do some preliminary steps by making sure the breaker's off, making sure all the switches are set to off, and that we can't turn any of the equipment on. That's just a check that I like to do just to make sure everything is really off. Now with a Phillips screwdriver, we're going to remove 2 screws from the top of this. And then we'll be able to pull this cover right off, which reveals the capacitor and 2 wires going into the motor. And I'm just making a mental note of how the wires are stuck in there, so that's a picture of that. So with everything off, I'm just going to cycle this on and off just to try to get the residual power out of the capacitor. And now we're going to use a multimeter with these 2 prongs against those 2 terminals to make sure that there's no charge in the capacitor before removing it. This is where the long screwdriver comes in handy. You can touch the 2 terminals together and make sure you can discharge it that way too. When we're certain the power is out, we're using pliers now to remove the wires from the capacitor. So now I shopped for the new capacitor. It wasn't at the local pool store, so I had to order it off Amazon, which was $7.47. And since that capacitor is coming tomorrow, I have to make sure that this pool timer doesn't move and the pool equipment stays off. The capacitor came the next day, the new one's on the left and the old one's on the right, which the right date is 2016 and the left date is 2019. Now we're going to test it and make sure it's working. So I have the tester set to the ohms reading as shown below. This is a Harbor Freight meter that I'm using. And now we touch these wires to the appropriate terminals on the top of the capacitor. So just as I'm showing you right now, the capacitor value jumps from 1 to a different value. But on the older one, you see when I try the same thing, it stays at 1. So that's how you can tell if it's a good capacitor or a bad capacitor. Now we can connect the wires to the capacitor. You have to connect one wire to one set of terminals like this, and then the second wire to the second set of terminals, just like this. It should snap in when you push it all the way in. Now we'll set this capacitor in position, which we just place it on top of this little foam block that's on top of the pump, just like shown here. Then we screw everything back in place with the cover on top, turn the breaker on and the pool pump on, and bam! That is the sound of glory. It works, guys! So guys, we were able to fix the pool pump by replacing the capacitor, which is an $8 part, rather than having to spend over $300 for a new pool pump, service call fee, and all that stuff. So I hope this helps. Please drop a like on the video if it helped you, subscribe, comment down below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.